there's the first trans congressperson in office, Representative Sarah McBride of Delaware. And of course, she has been facing all kinds of hatred from Representative Nancy Mace and others, Mike Johnson. And she has sort of taken the tone that you seem to be critical of, and I have critiques of, but I'm curious about your thoughts, where every time she's being asked about this, congressional anti-trans bathroom bill, she says, this is a distraction. This is about a culture war. I'm here to serve Delawareans. I'm here to deliver for them on the issues that they care about. And she said that most recently of this, rules package that, again, like targets, girls in sports and whatnot. And she said, it defies understanding, except for the fact that it's a pretty obvious part of a politics of misdirection and distraction. And then I wanted to play you, because this is what she had to say about facing the kind of hate in office and her sort of approach. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what you about this approach.
Down with me and discuss why she is complying with this controversial measure.
I would like my grace to contrast with the grandstanding that we're seeing right now. I would like my approach of respecting everyone to contrast with the disrespect that we are seeing right now. I'd like people to see my competence in governing contrast with their chaos.
Do you follow this rule? Do you adhere to it?
I have.
This is about whether or not, you can use the bathroom of your gender in Congress.
I have already said that I will not use multi-stall women's restrooms in the Capitol. But again, that is my choice here. I always knew that there would be an effort to politicize my use of a restroom. And if anyone had thought to ask me about what I was planning on doing, I would have been happy to tell them. But again, this is not an issue. And this has never been an issue in this complex. Everything was fine until some members of the small Republican conference majority decided to get headlines and to manufacture a crisis.
Okay, so that is her tack. And she has also been on record saying, again, I want to get to work. This is a distraction. I have so much empathy for the first trans person in Congress ever. I mean, it's historic. It's amazing. And of course, for these little lizard brain a-holes that just want to build an influencer following and not legislate, they are going to make her life a living hell. I respect, I'm sorry, Laverne, I'm cutting you off at the pass here, but I respect the sentiment, but I'm they're never going to leave you alone. They're never going to leave you in peace. We have to go at this, but how do we summon forces to help her? But what do you make of it?
The first time I saw that and watching it again now, it breaks my heart. It just kind of broke my heart, because I know a lot about what it means to be the first person to do something and to enter a space that may not necessarily be the most welcoming. So she has a lot to navigate in that regard. She is there to represent her constituents. And so there's something impossible about it. But at the same time, it's bigger than her. It's bigger than her. There are trans people who work at the Capitol. There are trans people who are staffers who work there, and this affects them. There are trans people who visit the Capitol. On the day the Supreme Court case was heard on gender affirming care for young people, there were a number of different groups of trans people who did sort of protest actions using the bathroom at the Capitol, and they documented it in sort of protest of this policy. And it's so crucially important to understand that this capitulating to this and not addressing it head on creates a permission structure and normalizes discriminating against trans people and excluding us from public space. When there's no pushback towards our humanity, a pushback around understanding that this not only affects trans women, it affects all women. Then it's like, how is this enforced? Are people standing outside bathrooms like saying, wait, you're not a woman? Historically, so many women who are cisgender, who are non-transgender, who are assigned female at birth and identify as women, but may have a short haircut, may be a little butch, have been called out in bathrooms. We're seeing this happen more and more in sports, where we saw it at the Olympics, where non-trans women are being called out and being called trans because people are transvestigating and being gender police because of these policies. So this bill that is targeting McBride actually not only affects her, it affects other trans people, and it affects all women. So whenever we get into this space of policing gender, it doesn't just affect trans people, it affects all women. It disproportionately affects women of color. Olayemi Olorin did a great video about this intersection that people should check out.
Well, I think that's really important to know, because it's like I do think that there's a time and a place to pick certain battles. And I understand like prioritizing and picking battles. But if they want to make a brand off of it, then we can make a brand going the other way. Like if they want to pick this fight, we'll win this fight. Like to me, it's how are you putting this fight in a broader structure? Can she say two things? I believe in making sure that people, have enough to eat and can make ends meet, put food on the table, and trans people are not taking food out of your mouths. Trans people are, and then go into the stats of disproportionately, targets of hate or are impoverished because of discrimination and lack of job opportunity. Like, is there a way that she can, and again, it's really ridiculous to sort of police. I'm not trying to police what she's saying. I'm just saying, like, can we model that intersectionality that you were talking about as we fight these so-called culture wars, but really are,
human rights,
just human rights,
civil rights. Yeah, I mean, she said this is manufactured. Everything that the right wing does is manufactured, right? All of it is manufactured. So, and then what is disturbing to me is that the Democrats aren't manufacturing anything. They're just reacting and being really careful and tiptoeing around things as the right wing manufactures outrage and manufactures consent. And then we react and ultimately capitulate to that framing. It is so ineffective. We need to be setting the agenda. And what does that begin to look like? How do we affirmatively make the case for trans people having the right to exist, this affecting all people, that statistically women are not in danger because I'm using the bathroom with them, that you aren't somehow in more danger? That is the argument. That is utterly and completely ridiculous. Most women's rooms have individual stalls. It's like, what do you, and then the argument is always that, like, some man can claim to be a woman or be trans and then go in and sexually assault. Sexual assault is already illegal, right? And no trans person, no person who is not really trans is going to go through the process of like transitioning, dealing with the discrimination we deal with, getting access to hormones.
The long con. Also, you have to be an Olympian, Laverne. You then be a trained Olympic athlete, obviously, a trained Olympic boxer. And that's why you transitioned, is so you can spy on women in the bathroom and compete in Olympic level boxing. Everybody knows this. And you know what it is? It's cis men's brains. It's just cis. It's how cis men, it's like how right-wing cis men's brains work. It's like, that's the only reason, because I don't understand. If I were in a girl's bathroom, I would look at them pooping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why they
that's
think
not
that.
Even a thing.
Of course it's not.
I mean,
of course it's not.
That's not a thing, no. But no one's like, oh, I want to watch somebody pee or like poop. Like,
exactly.
I don't think. It's not. If it is a thing, it's a very small minority of people, and it's certainly not any trans people I've ever. Exactly. It's certainly not any trans people I know, but it's utterly ridiculous. But it's part of. It starts to create a permission structure to dehumanize and discriminate, and we have to fight back. And so I think, like, in this moment, it feels like a done deal, right? They have the votes. All of these policies are going to go into effect. So then for us as a left, as a broader left, and then for some libs and Democrats who want to come aboard, how do we strategize going forward? And it has to be intersectional, because ultimately Trump did not gain more voters. He just, what the strategy that the Democrats employed suppressed, and a lot of Democrats and left people stayed home. That's what
Yes.
happened. We
Yes.
have to turn out our base. And what the Republicans do is they lie to their base, and then they go in and do like the corporate, whatever oligarchy thing, but they lie to their base. The Democrats just ignore their base, like spit in the eye of their base and tell them that, it's raining when it's pissed. It's like, you also can't tell people like, the economy is great, the economy is great, the economy is great, when they can't afford a house, when they can't afford rent, when they can't afford food. There was never any acknowledgement of what people were really struggling with. They were like, the economy is great, Bidenomics, blah, blah, blah. Also, we certainly didn't have a great messenger, right, for the things that he did achieve. He was, he went to a picket line for the first time. His Lena Khan, bless her, she's going to be gone. There was some decent things done in his administration domestically, but then they couldn't even tout that and talk about that. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and people have to feel it. Part of the thing too, just in general, like I have a lot to say just about the Democratic, people need to feel it in their pockets. People need to feel it in their lives. What does it mean? I was talking to someone about the NRA, and part of what the NRA does is in addition to lobbying, legislatures, is that they have like community events. They have picnics. They do things in the community. Right. What does it mean? And if like, even if like, with all the billions of dollars that the Harris campaign got, what would it mean to go into a community in like a high school, a struggling community? A high school needs jerseys, so they need sneakers for their sports team. What does it mean to like go into communities and make a difference in their lives in just some way that they can feel? People have to feel it, and it can't just be election year. They have to feel it for the 4 years, right? So these are the things, and it's like the problem is that is in conflict with corporate interest for the most part, right? And it's seemingly so that is the struggle that we have in our politics on the right and the left. But like I'm interested in leftist politics. I think there's more potential to change people on the left. Is that we have to figure out a way to dismantle the corporate rule. I love that Bernie's trying to get PAC money out of primaries. I don't know if it's going to happen. That would be a start, but we have to get money out of politics, and that's not going to happen from our elected officials. That's going to happen from us. So what does the organizing look like across coalitions? What does that begin to look like? We, at this point, because we are in an oligarchy, because we're in a kleptocracy, and just it's a mess, it's got to come from the bottom up. It's going to have to come from the people. We're going to have to find a way to come together and fight all of this.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Do it.